This week I'm sharing my Torah thought from Congregation Bethel, my home congregation here in beautiful Tyler, Texas. This week we are reading Vaera, the second Torah portion in Exodus. Here Moses and Aaron confront Pharaoh and bring 7 of the 10 plagues upon Egypt, saving 3 for next week's portion. But early in this parsha, Moses has an interesting confrontation with the Israelites that piqued the curiosity of the rabbis. God tells Moses to tell the Israelites that they will be liberated and redeemed from Egypt. Their time of slavery will be over, and God will bring the Israelite nation to the land promised to their ancestors. And then comes the text which concerns the rabbis. It says, "But when Moses related this to the Israelites, they would not listen to him, because their spirits were crushed by cruel bondage." The rabbis are confused. Who would not be happy upon hearing this news, that God was coming to liberate us? But instead of rejoicing, the text says the Israelites wouldn't listen to Moses. It doesn't make much sense on the surface. So in a midrash, the rabbis make a word play on the phrase avdei kasha, hard work. And instead they move the vowels around and read it to mean instead avodah kasheh, hard worship. So instead of reading that God will liberate the Israelite nation from avdei kasha, hard work, God will liberate them from slavery, instead they will be liberated from avodah kasheh, hard worship, meaning they would be liberated from idol worship. So here we now have a new meaning to this dramatic moment. According to this midrashic understanding, Moses wasn't coming to free them from hard work or slavery. He was coming to free them from hard worship, idol worship. Okay, thank you, rabbis, for the new understanding, but that presents us with a new problem. Why would the Hebrew slaves not listen to Moses, now coming to free them from idol worship? The answer here is a hard lesson. It's because the Israelites were scared. After 400 years in slavery, they had grown accustomed to their neighbor's religion. They became complacent and comfortable in their cultural surroundings in Egypt. They were more used to worshiping idols with their neighbors than believing in the one God over heaven and earth. Bottom line, they were not being good monotheists. So they were not necessarily joyful at the prospect of leaving that easiness behind. We know from numerous biblical texts that the Jewish nation had too many run-ins with idol worshiping over the years. It's the basis for a lot of prophetic commentary as the prophets urged us back to a path of spiritual unity and a firm belief in one true God. But it had always been a struggle. It has always been a struggle. For our ancestors, for the slaves in Egypt, even for us today. So when someone comes along and tells us that we need to move away from false forms of worship, away from detestable idol worship, sometimes that news is not met with joy, so we don't listen. With this reading, it makes sense that our slave ancestors were initially reluctant to move forward and leave behind the known for the unknown. Moses is not asking them for an easy transition. He is asking for a recommitment to God. And that scared our ancestors. And so they didn't rejoice. They ignored Moses. Ouch. There is a natural tension between ideal religion and folk religion, between what religion expects us to be and what we are willing to be. And so religion is a constant striving between what is and what ought to be. And that process, so often fraught with guilt and insecurity, is a spiritual challenge. Maybe we're never going to be perfect Jews the way that the biblical commandments expect of us, but we will forever remain Jews in the pews. Not a perfect people, but a people instead forever striving to be good, striving to be righteous. This is the real religion of the Jewish people. And Moses was simply the first leader to experience that holy struggle. May we continue to be rooted in the world that is, with our hearts and our minds and our souls directed to the world that ought to be. Let us not ignore the hard road ahead. God asks us to be up for the challenge. Now go out and be Torah.